It's Hyper Halloween!
Alright, I'm gonna start this Hyper Halloween with the first Harry Potter movie, Troll. I know, old joke, but it's an unwritten rule of the internet that anyone that reviews this movie needs to make that reference, so I just wanted to get it out of the way. Moving on. Troll centers around the Potter family as they move into a new apartment complex. As soon as the family arrives, the Potter's daughter, Wendy, is captured by an evil troll named Turok. Turok takes on the form of young Wendy and quickly begins terrorizing the other tenants. I'm not entirely sure what kept Turok from doing this before the Potters arrived, but whatever. Turok begins to turn all the tenants into different mythical creatures and, subsequently, their apartments in the mystical forests. Our main protagonist is Wendy's brother, Harry Potter Jr. Harry Jr. befriends one of the tenants, Eunice, and she eventually reveals that she is a witch. She explains that Turok is a wizard that used to live in the fairy world. See, the fairies and the humans used to live together in harmony. In fact, Turok and Eunice were in love at one point. That ended though when Turok and some fairies challenged the humans, leading to a war. The fairies ultimately lost the war, and Turok was transformed into a troll as punishment. Turok seeks revenge though, and is turning the tenants into mystical creatures and their apartments in the forest to try and recreate the fairy realm. In order to succeed, Turok needs a princess, and this is where Wendy comes into play. Harry Jr. eventually finds out that Turok is pretending to be Wendy and goes out to stop him. Eunice equips him with a magical spear. He eventually confronts Turok and fends off one of his monsters. The monster goes to attack Wendy, and Turok destroys it, and ultimately his fairy realm. That's Troll in a nutshell. I will say, for a seemingly low-budget horror film, not to be confused with the ones I'll discuss next week, its creatures are certainly well designed. In fact, when writing this review, I found out that Charles Band helped produce this film, and it honestly shows. I can see his influence in some of the creature designs based on some of the other Charles Band movies I've seen. I would also say that this film falls within the gremlinsploitation genre that I mentioned last year. It's a film about little creatures running around and causing trouble, and that hits the mark for me. Turok is played by the wonderful Phil Fondacaro. He also plays a role within the film itself as a man who saves Wendy or Turok from danger. Troll, the movie, not the character, is also Julia Louis-Dreyfus's debut film, although I believe she would rather not remember it. Those that have seen the film know why, as she ends up dancing around the fairy realm in the nude. Now, back to the Harry Potter reference. Apparently, the filmmakers considered suing J.K. Rowling over the similar nature of her story, and of course the use of the name Harry Potter. Rowling claims to have never heard of the movie, but I choose to believe that she stole the idea. I'm not a fan of Harry Potter, so I'll defend the makers of Troll before J.K. Rowling. I'll end this review with the fact that, well, probably everyone knows. Troll is a cult film that garnered 3 sequels. Well, kind of. Troll 2 is a film that features terrible-looking goblins and was known as the best-worst film ever made. It's a movie that lives in infamy for its terrible dialogue, nonsensical story, and creature design. Now, there are 2 Troll 3s. The first is actually a continuation of the Hyp3r series, a film series that I'm actually not all that familiar with, but I know it's a medieval fantasy movie series. The second Troll 3 is better known as The Crawlers, or Contamination Point 7. The Crawlers features killer trees that were mutated by toxic waste. I was originally going to talk about Troll 2 and Contamination Point 7 this year, but honestly, I'm going to save them for another year. They honestly do need their own Hyper Halloweens, and I want to do them justice in a year that I'm not overwhelmed with making a game. All in all though, Troll is definitely a diamond in the rough of so bad it's good horror films. It is outshined by the horrendousness of the films that came out after it, but I think Troll is definitely the most solid film of the bunch. Of course, the bar is set really low here. It's interesting enough to keep you interested, and silly enough that it'll give you plenty of laughs this Halloween season.